Today we're kicking off a very special aviation adventure in Venezuela as I resume my quest to fly on a 737-200. Just how many are actually flying here in Venezuela, and will I manage to finally catch a ride on one? Over the course of several videos that'll make up this series, I intend to answer those questions and more. Today's fun involves an Avior 737-400 Classic, and I'm in the cockpit. Trust me, you don't want to miss a minute of this. I'll be publishing a series of videos from Venezuela, and along the way, we'll discover all kinds of things about Venezuelan aviation. Info that was difficult to get from abroad because almost nobody wants to come to this country right now. And as it turns out, they are missing out, especially if you're an av geek and want to see and fly on airplanes that are long gone from most of the world. Welcome to Venezuela, which is just about the best living aviation museum you could hope for, not to mention one of my favorite countries anywhere. Let's go flying. Good morning and welcome to Caracas, Venezuela. This should be a very special one because I've come here chasing classic planes. Now, if you're regularly watching this channel, you'll know I was in Zimbabwe last year trying to catch the 737-200, the last one that I know of carrying passengers on regular service in Africa. I did not manage to catch it because the plane was out of the country that day. At that time, I made up my mind I need to find a way to fly a 737-200 at some point, if not here, then somewhere else. We got a bunch of messages around that video, and when I was out there shooting, posting on Instagram, pointing out that actually there are a number of 737-200s still flying in Venezuela. Of course, many of you will know that they're in Canada, a couple of airlines running those, mostly in combi configuration, but here in Venezuela, some of the oldest 737-200s are still flying in full passenger configuration. At least 3 airlines right now. If you can believe it, last week, just before I came here, one of the airlines, Rutaka, retired their last 737-200. But there are 3 airlines, as far as I can tell, it's difficult to be sure. 3 airlines here that are still flying the 200 in active service. They are Avior, Venezolana, and Estelar. And we're gonna see what we can put together this week. Even having made it all this way to Caracas, it's not necessarily that easy. Today, I'm joining up with Avior Airlines. Maybe this is my luck with the 200. This week, Avior's 737-200 is in the maintenance hangar. But as a consolation prize, we're gonna fly with Avior's 737-400 today over to Barcelona, port city of Venezuela, and we're gonna go visit their maintenance hangar there, their maintenance operation, where they have the 200 currently in maintenance. So it's a chance to get up close to one, even if I'm not flying on one today, and see how they maintain these things. Aviation is really on the rise again in Venezuela right now. You're seeing airlines adding service all over within the country and new airlines coming from abroad. And of course, there's the super weird Conviasa A340-600 network. As it happens, when I arrived yesterday on Turkish Airlines, they were just about to inaugurate, the first time, a Caracas to Algiers flight. And many of you will have heard of the Caracas, Damascus, Tehran flight. All of these on A340-600s that came secondhand from Iran. So that's a whole other ball game. So let's go over to the airport on the other side of that big mountain there and do our first classic 737 flight of this Venezuelan adventure. Coming into this, I'd read reports about Caracas Maiquetía Airport being a total mess, as well as a hotbed of crime. What did I find? A lot of beautiful stained glass windows and relaxing classical music being piped in, courteous staff, 0 sketchy people hanging around, and no queues to speak of. Have I stumbled on the world's best kept secret in terms of airport experiences? Possibly. In many ways, all of Venezuela feels a lot like that right now, being in on something that most of the world is not, with the reality on the ground here just starkly different from what you see and hear in the media and government travel warnings. But that's for another video. Checked in for my Avior flight to Barcelona, seat 4A. It's all a bit of a new experience, a bit of a mystery to me here, being in a domestic terminal. I've flown one domestic flight actually back in the day in Venezuela, a DC-9 Aeropostal. I don't really remember this terminal. Maybe it's different now. There's Christmas decorations all over the place, and it's the end of January. Like, this is nothing like I would have expected from the domestic terminal at Caracas. Everything you hear about how it is here, it's all completely different. But the airport, I mean, there's classical music playing, beautiful installations. You know, they're making an effort to make a nice environment here. It's better than many American airports, I'll say. It's incredible.
And also, the plane spotting airside is well worth the price of a plane ticket on its own.
Wow, so this is an Aeropostal MD-80 right out here in front of me, about to go to Port La Mar. I didn't even know that Aeropostal was still around. And among the world's domestic terminals, this has to be one of the most interesting ones to walk up and down. I've been doing all kinds of research into what's going on in Venezuela, both in terms of just being here and also in the aviation sector. And it hasn't always been easy to get accurate or consistent information, find out which flights are operating, which aircraft are actually operating. It's just extra fun because otherwise, it's kind of a black hole for information. You don't see much from here. People aren't coming here. For obvious reason, the government travel warnings for Venezuela are dire. They certainly scare you away. The Swedish ones, when I left, were don't go there. But as we check out the country and some of its aviation this week, I'll be trying to get a sense of that, trying to get a better idea of what's the deal here. Can people come? Is it okay? What's it like flying around here? These classic planes, are they safe? I've had a lot of questions like this, so I'm gonna try to answer them this week. So far, so good. It's been really cool to be back here and see how it's having a kind of a moment where the insecurity, the level of crime is way down. There are still problems, all kinds of problems, of course. People having a hard time economically, very tricky. But you can come here, it seems, you can move around. And I wonder if that's a 200 landing right now.
Nope, just a stubby little 300, which is pretty rare these days as well, actually. And here's our 737-400, Yankee Victor 3546, age 27 years. Boeing produced 486 of the 400s. It's a 10-foot stretch of the 300, and it first entered into service in 1988. According to one source I found, there are 235 of them currently active worldwide, but just 62 are passenger aircraft. In any case, it's a pretty rare airplane and only getting more rare.
Hola, buenas tardes.
And welcome to this classic 737-400 cockpit. What a beauty.
Conocidos, y hablé ahí para que quiten el diferido en Barcelona.
Okay, here means first mother data. Instrument number switches or emergency supplies. Hydraulics.
Damas y caballeros de la cabina de mando del capitán, en nombre del primer oficial y toda esta tripulación, para darle la más cordial bienvenida a su vuelo 042 con destino a la ciudad de Barcelona. La tarde de hoy volaremos una altitud de 19.000 pies, una velocidad estimada de 800 km por hora, un tiempo de vuelo será de 30 minutos. Condiciones meteorológicas serán favorables, un poco de turbulencia a la salida y la llegada de Barcelona, nada que ponga en peligro la seguridad del vuelo. Sin embargo, es importante el uso del cinturón de seguridad. Siéntense cómodos y disfruten del vuelo. Tira cabina.
Adelante, buenas tardes.
Hola amigo, buenas tardes. Al momento el parking brake está colocado, indicación de puertas y compartimientos están cerrados. Si el aire acondicionado está conectado, lo puedes desconectar, y cuando quieras esté libre el área, presión neumática para encender el motor número 1.
Ok. En estos momentos estamos recogiendo el aire acondicionado y cuando aparte el aire, mando presión a reparar el número 1.
Copiado.
Parking brake. Engine start brake.
Para el paso del Rutaca, estamos autorizados la marcha atrás, los frenos están afuera, bomba de la cortada y puertas cerradas, pista 10 izquierda.
Ok.
Rotando el motor número 2, bueno.
Ok, libre.
Okay, is that engine number 2?
Confirma la comunicación, se le escucha recordada por el 492, por favor. Al momento, ¿cómo confirma el video? Al momento 55. De acuerdo, con el 492 que notifica el control de área.
Before taxi, check the generators on. Static hits on. Anti-snow requires isolation about auto and start switches. Continue recall check no light auto brake. Engine start reverse. Flight controls. Ground equipment. Before taxi check is complete. Está bien, Ale. ¿Cómo se no aquí?
Mantenga fuera de pista sobre la izquierda en alto. El escritor 685 en breve salida con 737, continúa aproximándole haciendo pista de 3.2 que final corto. A la vista. 042 detrás de al corto, le vamos a hacer una megapista a la izquierda detrás. Al paso del límite de la pista a la izquierda. La tripulación se viene a tomar posiciones para la salida del animal. For takeoff checklist complete, pendiente autorización. Gracias a mover el segundo notifica registro. El Yankee Victor 2923, vamos a la puerta. Recibido contacto 119 en el Avior 042 en el aire con una participación. No se estimado los títulos de la izquierda autorizado a despegar. Autorizado a despegar. Tomados. Maquetía, todo muy buena ciudad del Caribe, obviamente. Estamos próximos a montar pelea externa hacia la derecha, Charlie. Y mantenidos en la experiencia con Chile. Caribe 1703, come Charlie, mantenga fuera de pista hacia la derecha. Charlie, mantenemos la pista hacia la derecha.
Every departure out of Maiquetía is gorgeous thanks to these beautiful mountains right up against the Caribbean Sea. And it's just a 30-minute flight today with a cruising altitude of 19,000 feet, so it's basically a quick climb, a few minutes of cruise, and then we're descending again to the airport of Barcelona.
Ok, desde el tránsito contrario del 45 a la 1 del 2, nosotros estamos en cerca de 10 días, manteniendo básico 25
25 de la zona de
entramos al 29, entrando por el 310.
Notifique 25 millas. Confirme distancia. El tránsito número 1 mirando llegando para final pista 0. Posible repetir con pista con tránsito a la vista. Avión 042, confirme distancia. 7 millas. Pues sí, 7 millas, por información de tránsito, contacto de torre 1807 para vuelta. El viento se mantiene variable, 020040, 8 nudos, presión 1015, notifique final de 3 millas, pista 15. Yankee Victor 3428, encierra la...
Si te aviso cualquier cosa, le vamos a poner alerón al viento, o sea, a la izquierda. O la tarita.
Avión 042, pista 15, autorizado para aterrizar.
autorizado a aterrizar.
Check.
Yankee Victor 3428, Torre Barcelona. Yankee Victor 3428, Torre Barcelona.
Consiguiente el 348.
Próxima a su derecha, vía Charlie, mantenga el punto de espera y aviso para cruzar pista.
Ya está punto de espera, notificará para cruzar.
Vía intersección Charlie, mantendrá en el punto de espera.
Vía intersección Charlie, se mantendrá en el punto de espera, aquí en el 348.
Minimums.
Negativo Boeing 734, próximo toque, pista 15.
Pues,
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
River Turbo.
Y a la vista te aviso para cruce de pista. Avión 042, entierra a las 29, continúe en línea recta vía intersección Takeoff, plataforma comercial.
348,
Avior has a base in both Caracas and Barcelona, but its center of operations and its primary maintenance hangar is here in Barcelona.
Barra de tobogán, abrir puerta principal con precaución, señores pasajeros, bienvenidos a Barcelona, que pasen todos un excelente día. Gracias por elegir Avior Airlines como su línea aérea de transporte.
Over for
Right.
today.
Thanks for the ride. Muchas gracias.
Thank you to you
Yeah.
for the company.
Oh, yeah.
¿Qué tal el vuelo? ¿Todo bien?
Perfecto. Sí.
Excelente.
On the way out, I get a quick look at this rather nice business class for short domestic hops. Better than most airlines in Europe. And then it's time to make my way over to the hangar just across the way from the terminal. And here it is, Avior's 737-200, which as it turns out has been undergoing a total refurbishment with new parts, overhauled engines, new landing gear, you name it. Plus a totally new livery, which I have to say is very, very cool. It warms my heart, and I know it'll do the same for many of you, to see a 737-200 receiving this kind of love and attention, and getting a new lease on life, even as many airlines would be shipping this airframe out to pasture. Come back and join me next week as I take an up-close look at everything they're doing here. We won't be flying, but we'll be spending lots of quality time with this beautiful vintage aircraft. Thanks for coming along. In Barcelona, Venezuela, for Flight Radar 24, I'm Gabriel Leigh.